remember very distinctly on my confirmation day, the bishop said, "Today you're choosing to be a Catholic." And in my head I went, no, I'm not choosing to be a Catholic because I have no choice in this. Once I left home and went to college, stuff like that, I never practiced my faith at all. I just didn't believe in God anymore. Some people say they don't believe in atheism. Our Lady is just our companion. She just got me and then she just took me and that was it. There was no going back. My whole life was just transformed. My friends that I've been friends with, they couldn't believe the change in me in days. It was days. I went from being one person to another person completely. I'm Nicola Brennan. I'm from Monaghan originally, but I live in County Down in Ireland. I'm married to Alex and we have 4 girls, Amy, Zoe, Jessica and Hannah, and they're aged between 11 and 4. I grew up in a family of 9 children in County Monaghan and the faith was a part of our lives. I was quite close to Our Lady and to Jesus as a child, but as I started to get older, witnessed quite a lot of hypocrisy and different things that were just not right. And I remember very distinctly on my confirmation day, the bishop said, "Today you're choosing to be a Catholic." And in my head I went, no, I'm not choosing to be a Catholic because I have no choice in this. I'm not choosing. Imagine if I said, no, I'm not doing this. I would just be in big trouble, So that I remember distinctly thinking, no, I don't believe a word of this anymore. I don't believe it. I don't believe in God. I don't believe any of this. And that was, I still remember sitting in the seat and hearing the bishop saying that and me saying, no, I've no choice. So from then on I didn't really, I went to Mass because I had to. And yeah, I didn't, once I left home and went to college, stuff like that, I never practiced my faith at all. I just didn't believe in God anymore. Some people say they don't believe in atheism, but I was an atheist. I had no faith at all. So that's how I lived my life all through my 20s. I had some very good friends who had difficult experiences and they had went to Medjugorje and I seen how it changed their lives and they kept asking me to go. Will you come with us? They constantly asked me. They must have asked me about 5 or 6 times a year to go with them. And every time I'd say no, in my head I'd be like, I'm not going there, not a chance. So that was my attitude, I have no interest in going there. And one time I probably had a particularly difficult week and life wasn't going great, and my friend, she rang me in my eyes out of the blue and said, "Do you want to go to Medjugorje?" And I don't know why, I just said, yeah, I'll go. And I had refused I don't know how many times at this stage, and she said, okay, well, we're going, there's a group of us going, and I actually paid the deposit, I think maybe that day, very quickly. As the time was coming closer, I was like, why did I agree to that? Why am I going? I had no idea why I was going, and I didn't really want to go then by the time it came. And I discovered, I would think it was just, I'd say days before I was going, that I was going in Holy Week. And when I saw, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to this holy place in Holy Week. What am I doing? What am I going to do to myself? I'm like, this is going to be awful. So I went And that was my attitude. But I also remember thinking, it's not for me, but I'm not going to disrespect anybody else. And they're going and they love this place, and I'll just let everybody be, and I won't be, I wasn't going to be antagonistic or saying, oh, what are you going here for? What's the point? Or say it's all a load of rubbish or anything like that. I said I would respect them, because I could see that they loved it. So I went, and the first day we went on, it was Spy Wednesday. It was the Wednesday we went, so the next day was Holy Thursday, and I just tagged along with them to whatever they were doing. And so we went to Holy Thursday Mass, and at the end of Mass there was adoration or exposition before the Blessed Sacrament was reposed, and there was thousands of people there, and my friend said, I really want to get into the church. And I said, oh, well, I can get you into the church. I'm good at that, because I'm small. I can weave in and out of people. So I was like, come on, follow me and I'll get you in. So we got into the church, and, we had managed to get through throngs of people to get in there. And I remembered seeing the Blessed Sacrament in the monstrance and thinking, ooh, I remember this from childhood, and I just remember having just a feeling of wanting to pray. Like, oh, that was strange, this feeling of wanting to pray. And I left the church then, and I went, and there was a little candle park, and I just prayed there for a while. Hadn't prayed in a long time, and I just remember afterwards praying and then thinking, that was strange, and kind of said, okay, we'll forget about that now. And I went home, and then the next day was Good Friday, and they were going to do the Stations of the Cross and climb the, I can't remember, Apparition Hill. Yes, Apparition Hill. I was getting confused there. So they were going to climb Apparition Hill and do the Stations of the Cross. So again, I'm not quite sure why I agreed, because I was still quite, was a bit dismissive of the experience the night before, of that desire to pray. But we climbed and we did the stations, and I remember the whole way it was wet. It was just kind of a bit miserable, and hadn't eaten because it was Good Friday, and I was just like, this is horrible. And I remember, how many Stations of the Cross are there again? It was like, we're on like Station 3 at this stage, and I was like, how many of these are there? And I couldn't remember. And they were singing between each station, and I just thought, this is a long, slow agony here, having to do this. I kept doing it though, I was joining in, and when we got to the top of Apparition Hill, then it was just sitting, and it was around 3 o'clock on Good Friday, very close to 3 o'clock, because that's obviously the time they aim to get to the top. I had this overwhelming sense of grief. This overwhelming sense of grief came over me, and I knew it wasn't my own grief. And what I think or assume it was Our Lady's grief on Good Friday. And I think my timeline's a bit off. I can't fully remember when, but at some point I had this inner voice saying, open your heart and let me in. And I was like, what was that? Open your heart and let me in. I was kind of like, let who in? The walls were kind of breaking down a little bit. I've had these two experiences, and that grief, I've never felt anything like it before, and I never felt anything like it since, but it was just overwhelming grief. So those two kind of made me start thinking, and by the Saturday I said, right, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to take the day, and I'm not doing anything holy today. I'm just going to get my book and go and get a coffee and chill out, and I'm not climbing any mountains or doing it, because I think I was a little bit stunned, and I knew something had happened, but I was probably fighting it still. So let me see, I can't, it just all happened so quickly, but slowly as well, progressively. By the Sunday, I found myself praying the rosary on my own, without anybody prompting me, without being in a group. And I just started to pray, and then I went to confession. I hadn't been to confession, it was 19 years whenever I went to confession. I had confession after 19 years, and that was just extremely powerful. It was a really powerful experience and a really healing experience. And it's just, as the days went on, I started to realise that it was all true. The Catholic faith was the one true faith, and all of it was true. And the phrase that kept coming to me was, all of it is true, because over the week I was like, yeah, well, maybe that is, or maybe that isn't, or, and what about that? Things I didn't maybe agree with and that kind of thing. But by the end of the week, I knew that the Catholic faith was the one true faith, and everything they taught was the truth. And it was just so overwhelming and joyful, and to come to that realisation, and to be transformed in the space of days, just by going to Medjugorje. It was nothing to do with anybody. It was all interior and all from Jesus. It was all the healing that I'd been looking for years. All happened in those few days. And it was basically because I answered that call to open my heart. I kind of said, okay, I'll open my heart. When I started to pray and I went to confession, and then once I came home, that was it. A friend commented to me, she had been a few times, and she said, but you just got it straight away. And I was like, what wasn't to get? Once I knew, that was it, I knew. So I just started praying all the time, going to daily mass, going to adoration all the time. I absolutely just loved adoration, praying the rosary every day. So Our Lady, she just got me, and then she just took me, and that was it. There was no going back. My whole life was just transformed. My friends that I'd been friends with, they couldn't believe the change in me in days. It was days. I went from being one person to another person completely. And I just was living a completely different life then. And within 6 months of coming back from Medjugorje, I met Alex. And 6 months after that, we were married. So it was so quick. And that's 12 years ago. I have Amy, Zoe, Jessica and Hannah, and the world we live in, it's completely it's anti-faith. I think it's a difficult world to bring children up in the faith. Like, I know the journey I took, and I don't want that journey for them. I want them to have a strong faith and to witness faith in action, not just by words. Holy Mass, receiving the Eucharist, so we try to get to Mass as often as we can. And monthly confession, as we do the 5 first Saturdays, we get our confession every month, and the difference between getting confession every month and not is night and day. I find confession is just such a powerful sacrament, and so many people have turned away from it, but the healing and the power of the sacrament is, it's indescribable, actually. other 3 stones is the Bible. So we have Jewels from God, just little Bible verses. So we'll pick them out after we've done our rosary, and each of us will have our little verse. And so often the verse is so relevant. Just an example, Zoe would be very afraid about things, and the amount of times her verse has been, do not be afraid. Do you know, she's afraid of this, afraid of that. And it's really our motto for Zoe, do not be afraid. And then just other little things, there's so many examples, but I love picking out my jewel from God, or if I'm praying about something, and it just either it can confirm exactly what you're thinking or wanting to do, or guide you in a different direction. So we use them a lot. I use them in my prayer life. Our Lady is just our companion in our life. Alex loves her just as much as I do, and we pray the rosary together. Sometimes we don't pray it together every day. We might pray it separately, just life is the way it is, do you know, and it would be beautiful to pray it together every day, but it's just not always possible. So 99% of the time I'll pray the rosary every day. Do you know, maybe one day here or there I'll not get it said, but I know if I haven't said it, do you know, and I feel that. And we just always turn to Our Lady when things aren't going well, or if we want things to work out. Just something as simple as consecrating the day to Our Lady. The difference between a day that you consecrate to Our Lady and a day, you know, where you have a really busy day coming up, and if you forget to consecrate to Our Lady, the stress and the way things don't always work out, but just even simple things work out when you give it to Our Lady.
My name is Michael O'Neill, and I'm the Miracle Hunter, and today we're talking about some of the miraculous images of the Virgin Mary from around the world. One of my favorite stories of the Virgin Mary, and it's kind of on the level of Our Lady of Guadalupe, who left that lasting image for St. Juan Diego. There's another image like this, and it's actually found in Colombia. There was a woman named Marian de Quiñones, and in the year 1754, she was walking amongst Las Lajas, or the flagstones, when she was caught in the snow in a rainstorm. She was running to a cave to seek protection from that rainstorm, and her daughter got there first. Now, her daughter was very sickly. She was deaf and mute, and all of a sudden she started exclaiming, "I hear the Virgin Mary." And sure enough, they ran away from that spot in fear. They ran to Itopiales, where they were from, and the townspeople came back with them. And when they did come back, they discovered an image of the Virgin Mary that was emblazoned on the cave wall where they were about to go in. And this is an image of the Virgin Mary. It looks like it's in Spanish style from the 17th century, and it has the mother and child with St. Dominic and St. Francis depicted in the same spot. And this may look like a painting at first, but scientists have actually cored into that image and found that the color goes 7 feet deep. And so no known scientific process can produce color in rock. This is considered a miracle locally and a miracle for the world that's been approved by the Catholic Church. And that was Our Lady of Las Lajas in Quidara Canyon in the year 1754.